our trainers off. I've got very fancy Pilates socks on that make me want to frolic.
How do you do it?
Yeah, I feel like I need to be like this. Yes, yeah, it makes me feel quite. That's your next. Irish dancing. That's not what we're doing, that's not what we're doing. Alright, so all I'd like us to do to start with is our centering, alignment and breath work. We're going to start every session with this. It sets the scene, it gets us focusing on feeling a little calmer, a little bit more sort of in the space that we're in and then ready to work, okay? So I'd like you to have your feet right underneath the hips for me. And we just start by making sure that any tension that we have through the hips isn't making us shift the hips in a certain way. We're going to find neutral. So what I'd like you to do, if you think about the hip bones being right at the front here, I want you to shift the hips all the way to the front of the room, squeezing your bum underneath, pushing your hips towards the front. And then do the opposite, so push your bum out at the back, creating as much arch through the lumbar as you can. And then just keep doing that, working through those points all the way to the front, and then all the way to the back. So like a hip tilt. Just keep going with that. Find your own little rhythm with it as you come underneath to the front and then push out, tilting to the back. I find it quite helpful actually to have my fingertips on my hip bone so I can actually sort of feel that tilt happening. Now right at the front, we're going to call that point A. And then that point right at the back, we're going to call that point C. And as we're working through what I'm going to keep calling a neutral spine, that's going to be in point B, okay? So I want you now just to settle in to that middle section. So you don't feel like you're tilted one way or another, but feel like you're sort of dead centered through the middle of that movement. From here, shift forward and back. So send the weight into the toes, and then send the weight back into the heels. Become aware of like the tipping point, as it were. All this is doing is helping us become aware of our sort of sense of gravity and where we're sort of holding the body in space. Keep it going, but close your eyes and see if that changes how you feel on the shift. Suddenly you're falling off the cliff edge, right?
Your body's coming down.
Yeah. It suddenly feels like a much bigger range. It's not, it just feels it. And then just open your eyes again for me and just settle into what feels like mid-ground. So equal amount of weight distribution from the toe into the heel. Place your hands on the outside of your ribs for me. And I want you to focus on a lateral breath. That's a breath that's going to fill the ribs and send them outward and upward. Take a deep breath in. And release. Again. Now never feel pressured to keep up with the breath rhythm of somebody else, alright? I want you to fall into your own breathing pattern as long as you feel like you're filling up the ribs out to the side and then letting them back, contracted back into their rest position again. Perfect. One more deep breath. And then just fall into a natural breathing rhythm again, hands by the side of your body. Now that breathing style is going to be really important because some of the positions we're going to take today involve kind of holding positions and lengthening in and out. What you are going to want to do is hold your breath. What you're going to try and avoid to do therefore is hold the breath and take those nice long breaths, but focus on the ribs. Because sometimes what we end up doing is shallow tummy breathing. So out and in here. And you'll see the difference if I show you from the side. If I'm breathing laterally here, there's no movement through my tummy. Because I'm here and I'm breathing outward. If I then breathe here, you see the breath went there. Now that becomes problematic for pelvic floor control later on. Because if you hold the breath and then you abdominally breathe, push the potential sort of power downwards rather than upwards and into this usable area here, okay? So all the way through, just be mindful about your breath And think, is my breath here, or have I accidentally turned it back into my tummy breath again? All right? Let's just start to heat and to mobilise. Start with a little shoulder roll up and over. Lifting and lowering. And then just gradually let those become a little bit bigger and explore the little bit of space through the shoulders. Nice. Turn that into almost like an elbow drive up and over and start to become aware of the shoulder creaks. We might get a little bit of a crackling through the shoulders. Usually mobility is not the best, maybe on one side more than the other. So then relax one arm down and just continue with the one arm only, up and over. Gradually that arm's going to get straighter and straighter. And once it's at its straightest point, follow it with your eyes. So as it gets to the back, turn your whole body. And you might find that that gives you a little bit of a better range of movement over your shoulder. Nice. Do the same on the other side. Start small. So we started just with that little swoop round, elbows lifted. Start that heating, mobilising. And then with each rep, just make that arm a little bit longer for me, a little bit straighter. And once it's at that straightest point, the idea is follows. And you definitely find what I call like the sticking point. You get to a point where you think, oh, I can't turn anymore without then the help of my body. And it's all these positions that we're trying to find for ourselves. Nice. All right, come back to facing the front again, roll the shoulders, and just make sure that you don't feel like you've tilted into C or to A again. Nice neutral spine, to just shift side to side. So again, that top elbow is driving upwards. And again, that top arm's going to grow. And then we turn it into a full stretch over. Opening up through the sidelines. We've got some side bend work coming in today, which can feel quite challenging. So we're going to prep the obliques here, ready for those. Nice. Bringing the hands together and pressing the thumbs in towards the chest. Elbows are lifted as you take a twist from side to side. Now try and keep your heels on the floor so that whatever twist you are managing is purely coming from the thoracic. Very fancy way of saying like the middle of the body. Yeah, very good word. Middle of the body. Word of the day. Lovely. And then if you just set your feet maybe just ever so slightly wider, and we're going to imaginary hula hoop. So you're going to take the hips all the way around to the back, all the way around to the front, and then you'll take them back the other way. Now really over-exaggerate this. Imagine you're stuck in like a little plastic tube and you're trying to touch it all the way around. Because it's possibly not a movement, I mean, I don't know. Possibly not a movement we do regularly, I don't know. But it's a great one. I mean, it is a Sunday morning, I don't know what you were doing Saturday, so I shouldn't judge. Nice. And then have your feet really wide for me. And we're going to shift all the way into one side. Now one arm is going to slide across the top of the legs, the other one will turn, and then just bring yourself back to neutral. Do the same side again, like a slide and twist, mobilising into the side of the body. That top hand going up towards the ceiling. That bottom hand quite useful for kind of anchoring in. Press into that knee to help you add a little twist over. One more on that side. And then shift over to the other side. So that bottom hand sliding to the top of the leg, the opposite hand coming up towards the ceiling. And what we're doing here is using sort of resistance from the body itself to create shapes. Nice, another couple on that side. One more. Nice. And then the feet all need to come just a little bit closer for a swing and reach. So all the way down and then all the way up onto your toes if you can. I feel like I'll be really good at this today. This is mine on my special socks. I'm really good at this now. idea, no idea. Springs to mind. It's alright, stay up at the top on this one. Just bring the arms all the way down and let's just start to weight shift. Just one side to the other. So the legs stay relatively straight, and again we're just sort of practicing that weight transfer. Now stand on your right leg for me. Hands on the hips, just because that helps us a little bit with centering the balance as well. Shift the weight into that right side, and all I want you to do is just swing the leg forward and back. So we're still sort of just in the prep phase, we're just starting to build in a little bit more intention now with some balance work. And what we're trying to avoid is too much sway. So we're trying to avoid kind of counterbalancing that way and then counterbalancing the other way, but actually feeling like we're fairly neutral in the way that we're stood. And then let's do that on the other side. So just pad side to side, find that weight shift. And then bringing all the weight into the other side, take the shift. Make a little mental note if one side felt a little bit more stable than the other. It's often the case. I can't do much for your mental stability, but I can help with the physical stability today, okay? Set the professional boundaries and the expectations, yeah. Nice. Last one. Okay, nice. All right, I want you to come all the way to the backs of your mats now as we start to think about moving with intent and transitioning into the work phase for the main phase that we have. Now, have your feet just under the hips again, always thinking about your newfound neutral position through the hips. Tuck your chin into your chest and roll all the way down. You're unstacking the spine and you're taking your time as you roll. And once your hands kind of graze the floor, I want you to pull back up again. So your hips are coming back upwards, you're unstacking the spine, up, 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 up. And then you're tucking again, all the way down with the chin. And I want you to find your own pace with this, alright? Don't feel like you have to keep up with my coaching or with anybody else that's stood near to you. I want you to enjoy this bit. Feeling the weight kind of drag down. Tucking in. Now whenever you land at the bottom of the next one, you're going to stay there. So just enjoy that little bit of a drag down at the bottom. And then you might need to soften the knees and bend them to allow you to get your hands on the floor. Once they're there, I want you to take a crawl forward to the front of your mat and hold that extended plank position. From here, push your hips all the way up to the ceiling and take that calf stretch. So try and push your heels all the way down to the floor for me if you can. Let's find the ouchies. And then you might need to soften the knees again so that you can walk the hands back towards your feet. And then we can take that roll back up to the top again. Beautiful. We're going to go through that movement sequence again. So tuck the chin, rolling all the way in. Maybe finding that little bend in the knee at the bottom so that you can curl your hands to the front of your mat. Find your plank position, tucking the tailbone so that you find neutral. And then pushing your hips all the way up to the ceiling, calves down towards the mat. Nice, this time, just push straight back into the hands again for me. Find yourself in that extended plank. And using knees or toes, let yourself drop right the way down to the mat. So the chest actually makes contact. And then from there, push back up again selecting knees or toes. Stay at the top. Select knees or toes to drop down to the bottom. And then push through the heels of your hands as you come back up to the top.
You're just making it not sound like aggressive.
Yeah, if I don't say it, it's not. Yeah, exactly.
You're not fooling me.
I've been rumbled. All the way down to the mat. Not saying the word. And then all the way up to the top.
Even a tricep muscle as well.
We definitely don't say that. One more, all the way down to the floor. And all the way up to the top. Holding at the top for me. And then hinging your hips to the ceiling. Enjoy that calf stretch again. Right, bring back that breathing and swaying around, please. We like that. So there's 4 reps, okay? We get ourselves ready for 4 reps. Push forward into the hands. And again, find your own pace with it, team. I just don't need to really rush it. We're moving with intent. Nice deep breaths. Become aware of how you're breathing. Remember what I said before? Try and avoid that tummy breath. Beautiful. Knees or toes are the option. We can change our option anytime. Once you've done your 4, we're on varying numbers, so don't rush. You'll be back in your high hip position to take that stretch through the calf. For those already in that high hip position, maybe just take a little walk for me, side to side, just so that you can push one heel a little bit further down at a time. So it's almost like a little pedal movement, side to side. Nice. And then you're going to lower your body all the way down to the mat, and this is our new set position, okay? We're going to take a block called Swan Dive, and I'm going to sort of make a contemporary version from the original classic Pilates, simply because I don't think it's a good idea to have you all rocking around on your front. Not today. We're going to take piece by piece. So your arms are in front of your body like this, and your feet are behind. But could you make sure that your feet feel a little bit active? So rather than just chilling, maybe a little point through the toes or something that makes you feel like you're firing up the back side of your body. Both arms at once, we're going to just gently lift them up off the mat. Place them back down again. And then do the same with the legs. The hands stay down and the feet lift. Nice. Let's do that again. So it sort of gives the illusion of a rocking tail movement, but in a really nice controlled manner. And if, like me, you've got terrible lumbar extension, the leg bit feels alright, don't mind that bit. But having to lift my upper body off the floor, that definitely feels like a challenge. So if anybody wanted to leave one hand on the floor and then use that as a little bit of a power push while you lifted the other, please know we've got lots of different options in the way that you move, okay? You keep going, I'm just going to take a little look. And again, everything just wants to be quite nice and slow with the movement, nice and controlled. Nice, keep that going. Lovely, you can choose to have your head fully relaxed on the sections where your body is down. You might still keep a little bit of activity through the head if you prefer. Nice, and what I'd like you to do is just pull your hands so that they're underneath the shoulders. You don't necessarily need to be active in the upper body at all, but make sure that you're not completely flat. Just a little bit of a lift through the head. From here, we're just going to focus on the leg lift aspect. So we're just going to keep repping nice and gently those lifts and lowers. And if you found that you've got into a bit of a knee bend, try and take that out for me. Try and keep the legs nice and straight as you lift. And then on this next one, if you feel that you're able to, we're going to hold those legs up. If you're not keen, keep giving me those smooth reps in and out. I'm going to give lots of different movement options. It's important that you just take the best one for you, okay? If you're on the hold, I want you to move from a pointed toe to a flexed toe and keep moving between those two. So if you're holding the legs up in hover, you're playing around with different foot positions. If you're still repping the up and down in the legs, I just want you to keep taking that movement so that we've all got something that we're focusing on. Then relax the legs down, place the hands under the shoulders and sit yourselves back into a wide knee stretch. Take some tension out of the back. So far, so good. So like I said, with all these blocks, we're all going to start off together and then we might start deviating off into different versions and options. Just important that you do what feels good for you today. Not too good though. You should still feel a little bit not good. Alright, I'm going to bring you off the wrists and the hands. I'd like to roll onto your back for me. Let's just take some tension out of the shoulders for this next block. We're going to train something called the 100. So classically, this was done in reps of 100. Today, we're not going to be so strict on that. We're just going to keep the hold, okay? So roll yourself back. And you just have your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. But what I would like you to do is lift your chin up towards the chest, so that you have some activity coming through the back of the head. Your hands are out in front with the palms facing down towards the floor, and you're going to lift and pulse. Nice. Now if that option works with sort of coming in and out, I want you to keep it. But if you can, I'd like you to stay at the top of the movement now and just do the pulse. But whichever option you choose is going to feel right for you. So keep the pulse if that feels better. But if you're able just to get to the top of the movement and hold, I'd like you to do that if you can. Whichever version you're on, keep it, but extend one of your legs out long and hover it above the floor. How are the shoulders doing? So not really intense for shoulders, just as they were wafting them around. And then swap to the other leg. That's a nice long and then we're going to bring that leg in. What I'd like you to do is take your arms right overhead, push your hips up towards the ceiling, and then bring them back down again, hands are coming flat to the floor. Do that again, breathe your arms overhead. Let's give them a little bit of a release. And then all the way back down again. Don't worry too much about a high bridge position for now. This is more a release for the shoulders and the hips. Nice, let's do that one more time. So we're going to reset for that block again. So we're going to tuck the chin into the chest, the feet stay flat on the floor, knees bent, and just start moving your pulse. Now straight away for those who are up for it this time, we're going to go ahead and extend the leg out. And then we're going to take it to the other side. Now you're either sticking with that and you're going to go back to the other side again, so swap now. But if you're up for it, what I'd like you to do is have both legs out. Oh, okay, okay. If you're on one leg only, swap now. 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees in, put your hands up towards the ceiling and overhead as you bridge the hips up. And down again, breathe in the hands overhead. See, what I do is I make you do that, but then look, you're my friend again now while we do this thing.
Just carry on doing it, it's all better.
One more of those. And then back in again. We're going to do a slightly different variation again, so the chin is tucked. Arms out, find your pulse first of all. This time we're going to lift both legs up, we're in a bend knee position, so you're going to find tabletop. Now the nearer that your knees are to you, the easier this is, because the less weight there is on it. So what we're going to do now, with a bend still in the knee, just start to push it away until you find, okay, yeah, that's my tension point. I can feel that weight coming right the way through the front of my tummy. Pulsing, keep pulsing. So traditionally, like I said, this was done in reps of 100. I don't have the mental capacity to count to 100. We struggle with 12, don't we? So let's not do that to ourselves. 3, 2, 1. Feet are flat, arms are going up and overhead. Stretch and breathe. And then bringing it all the way down to do that again, a nice big stretch overhead. So again, one more time. Nicely done. Now today we're going to work what's called a double leg stretch. So if you just take a look, you might need to sit up just to make it a little bit clearer. We're going to be lifting the legs up, and then we're going to simply be circling them round at the lowest point that you can, and then I want to reverse that. So the legs are coming all the way up and around again the other way, and they'll drop down the centre. Now listen up, if hips are just like, we could do one leg. So we could leave one leg completely flat, and we could focus on circling and lifting one at a time. You can modify the range, so the circle could actually sit more like this, if that felt like that's a more achievable range, rather than it coming so high. So this first little bit will just be us figuring out where that position for each of us needs to be. But this is a mobility block as well as strength, because obviously the further out your legs go, the more challenging that is for the core. You've also got your mobility aspect though, because of the way that we're moving around. Okay? Enjoy. So we're going to start with lifting up. Taking those legs out wide in a circle. Do you feel that like yeah. You might need a bend in the knee. Maybe try that. Maybe it's a little bit too stressful to have the legs perfectly straight. And maybe the bend works better for you. Remember that single leg version? That might be the winner today. And every day is going to be a little different, so I'll do a little bit of a mix of each and you decide which one's best for you. Oh my god. I should record this section just for the sound effects. see if it feels different if you point your toe or whether you have your toe flexed as well. So just, because it will change up how you've activated the muscles of the thighs. So play around with pointed toe versus flexed toe, just see the difference it makes. And some of you would have very good natural flexibility in this move, and for others it might be a little bit of a nemesis movement.
This is wonderful.
Nice. Now everybody just pull the knees into the chest. Relax one leg out, but we're going to take the one leg version of that now. So one leg up in the air, and send it out to the side, scoop it round, and bring it up the middle. You might find that that definitely alleviates a little bit of the pressure. And then when you're ready, you're just going to swap that to the other side, lifting and circling. Try not to rush it. I'm seeing some of you naturally going to your preferred speed soon. Just slow it down. Yeah, it don't work like that. And then bring both knees into your chest, please, and just hug it. Relax your head down to the floor. So if you've been in that chipped up for that length of time, let's just take the weight out of the neck. Nice. Now, just before we move to your next strength block, let's give ourselves more of a mobility block. Keeping your knees so that they're above the hips in that bent position. Have your arms out wide. Your head can be fully relaxed on the floor or it can be tucked. And I just simply want you to rock the hips from side to side, sending the knees down one way and then lifting up through the centre as you send them the opposite direction. Now, although this is a mobility block, it isn't without an element of strength training because your core is having to work pretty hard to keep pulling the legs up and down. So if you can feel that through the core, don't worry, it is part of the block. Keep this going nice, deep breaths. Remember, we're never looking to hold the breath. Your own time, just one more on each side. And then when you hit that center point, knees can come into the chest again. Perfect. From there, let yourself rock to seated. And let's start our next strength block. So we're actually going to be working in a lateral position on this one. We're going to be on the side. And again, like the other blocks, I'm going to start with a certain level and we're going to look at building up through blocks, giving you different options, okay? So we're in a side plank position for this one. And I'd like us all to start with the knee underneath, like this. Nice. Now, the hand at the top goes here. And what we're going to do is we're going to push through the knee and the foot and the elbow to bridge up as high as we can. And as we bridge, we're going to take our top arm over, stretch it overhead, and then we're going to bring it all the way back down again. Nice. So every time you lift, you try to get as much of your body off the mat as you can. And all the way down. Now if this option feels like this is the right one for you, we keep it. But if anybody would like a little bit more from the strength element, have the feet stacked one in front of the other, same movement, but this time the knee doesn't stay connected to the floor. So we keep moving at our own pace, choosing whether we want a knee down or not. Now this is also one that it would be tempting to hold your breath on, so please find a rhythm of deep inhale and exhale. Who's feeling it in the shoulder? Yes, yes, yes. Sometimes it helps us to acknowledge that what you're feeling though is what's expected, and then you're not laying there thinking, that's really hurting my shoulder, should it be?
The answer is always yes.
Hold at the top of your next one, Tim. When you get to the top of the next one, I simply want you to hold in that full extended position. Come to Pilates, they said. It's stretching, they said. Nice, release that down. Nice. And then elongate yourself so that you're stretched all the way out on that side. Your top leg is going to lift slightly up. So you've created that little bit of space here. Nice. Keeping that space, add me a little pulse. And if you can, I want you to lift your bottom foot off the mat as well. This front hand, by the way, really useful for a little bit of a counterbalance. Then maybe that top leg is up just a touch higher and just freeze. Always making sure here that the hip bones feel like they're stacked directly on top of each other and you're not rolling outward in the hip to create more space. Keep it stacked. Then that top leg is going to draw a small circle forward and out. Remember, at any point that bottom foot could actually just land back on the mat again if you feel like you need a little less. And I've quite often got my head up, but it's because I'm kind of looking around and things, but feel free to keep yours relaxed right the way down on your arm. Then the final section on this side, both feet are off the floor and I want you to chop them in and out. And this is the sort of thing where like inside everything's like, ah! But if you watch people doing it, like we look like we're doing nothing. There's a lot going on, a lot of internal work here. Three, two, one, and relax. I'm going to give you the best stretch ever for this side. Bring your top leg over and let it relax on the floor.
Oh God.
That feels nice now, doesn't it? That stretch. The weight of it dragging through is good for a nice big glute stretch. Because we've got two sides of the body, which means that everything that we've just done, that whole side bend sequence, we're now going to take on the other side. So you can just flip yourself over onto your other side. I'm going to turn completely over just so I can keep facing forward. It's alright though, this is your good side. It's fine. So you're going to be in a plank position to start with. So your forearm is right underneath your shoulders because we're going to be going all the way from the reaches across. Now we all started with the knee down, so that's exactly what we're going to do on side two as well. So knee down, toe touching, 3 points of contact with the floor as you lift up and take a side stretch across. Nice, letting the hip just land at the bottom of every one, lifting and stretching. And then if you did opt for that slightly more advanced version on the toes, you're going to head to that side, the same on this side as well. Nice deep breaths. Remembering, try not to push the breath into your tummy, just like I explained at the beginning, try and breathe through the higher section into the ribs. These look good, well done. This. Lovely. Can you hold at the next one and keep it up for me? Thank you. Thanks for asking. No worries. Relax. And remember, this time now we're going to be all the way down, so really relax that shoulder. Lovely. And we're just going to start with the top leg being slightly lifted to start with for me. And once you've created that little bit of space, just add the little pulse from up and down. Never fully closing the legs again, always just with that little gap between. And that front hand really quite useful for creating a bit of counterbalance at the front of the body. And then keep that little pulse, but if you can, the bottom leg is also raising off the mat. And still just the top leg that's pulsing. Really nice, team, well done. So remember, your head can stay completely relaxed. And then just freeze those legs for me. Oh, nice, hold up. And then the top leg's going to move into a circle round. Some really good stability, everybody, well done. And the top and the bottom leg come together in a chop and extend, chop and extend. So just a little touch and then reset, making sure that bottom foot is always hovering just above the mat. Use it to the side of the hips. 3, 2, 1, and then let's relax that top leg all the way over. Nice. So I'd like to come to a seated position. Have your yoga block with you. So I'd like to use it as a little wedge just under your bum to sit up a little taller. So we're going to sit on it, and that usually just kind of brings us to more of this sort of position. Then you can have your legs however you want to start with. I quite like a cross leg position, but if it doesn't feel comfortable, it doesn't matter. Have your feet however feels comfortable for you. And we're simply going to add rotations. So lifting through the shoulders and having the hands back to where they were right in our prep. Elbows are high, so try not to be there. Try and be active with the elbows as we take a twist from one side to the other. And just finding your own pace with this one again. You'll find you won't get quite as far because now that we're seated, the hips can't help us out on the turn. Could you keep that going? Could you extend the arms out, palms flat to the floor, and take that twist again? Put the focus in your back arm. So every time you get towards the back of the room, find me a little millimetre extra, really squeeze through. One more in each direction. Nice. We're going to extend the legs out in a straddle position. So that means they're out like this. And because we're on the yoga block, we find that naturally we have a slightly better tilt. Because usually what happens if we're here is that the hips kind of shine forward. And having the block, just to kind of drop the hips a little bit, helps us to lean further forward. So now, as we're trying to take a spine stretch, we might find that we go a little bit further in than we sometimes can. Just inching forward, and just relaxing in. We're starting to come into the closing phase now, and thinking a bit more about your flexibility and mobility. Deep breaths, and on the exhale, see if you can crawl a little further in. Keeping the arms as extended as you can, walk them over to one side. And we found a new stretch now, so we're going to hold on the diagonal. And then walking all the way across to the other side. And then back out to the middle. And see if you can crawl a little further in. One side. And over to the other. And you might find, because you've been in a position for a while now, that naturally your weight kind of just settle further a little forward. And you might have a little extra movement through the stretch. And into the middle, one more time with that spine stretch forward. And as you walk out of it, we've been in there a while, so let's just start by sitting up tall. Because we put our spine into flexion, so let's not immediately move out of that. Let's just bring it back to neutral for me. Nice, and then sitting up a little further back, slide the legs back into you. They might feel a little bit stiff because they've been out in that straddle for a while, so just kind of bring them back to home base. Beautiful. We can lose the yoga block now. Nice. And all I want you to do, just to give the legs a little bit of a pedal. And then pushing them out straight and doing that same pedal again. Just be aware of the stretch points, maybe right down the back of the hamstrings, maybe on the inner thighs a little bit. And then just take one leg across, just hold it in, hook it tight. Again, just because we've had hips in this position, so we're just helping to neutralise them again, bringing them back to centre. Nice, and then do the same thing on the other side. Nice, and I'd like to just lie back on your mats. Have your feet flat but the knees bent to start with. And you know the pelvic tilt that we practiced in the beginning? We're going to do it now but in this laid down position. So that pelvic tilt of trying to get the hips up towards the ceiling like that, so that you have no gap between you and the mat, and then doing the opposite, tilting the hips so that you then feel like you've got loads of gap here. And all you're doing is that hip tilt focus for me. So everything still stays fairly connected to the mat. You're just changing how much of your lower back touches or not. Just with a little tilt and tuck, tilt and tuck. So not really a full glute bridge. Trying not to lift your hips actually off the floor, but just that little there to there movement, tilt. And then more just like a little shift in the hips, just rock them side to side. If anybody wanted, you could put the yoga block underneath your head if you feel like you just want a little bit of support in that laying down position while you're taking those hip shifts. And then just relaxing the hips all the way down. Stretch your legs out forward for me. And I'm going to recommend that you have your eyes closed and maybe your arms out by either the side of your body or maybe your hands on the chest and on the stomach if you prefer to feel a little bit more closed in. Focusing on that nice lateral deep breathing that we practiced right in the beginning. I'm going to leave you to find your own breath rhythm, but let's think about some nice long breaths. Breaths even longer. And focus on the muscles in the face. Make sure you're not holding any tension through the brow line or through the jaw. Let the jaw come a little bit loose. Make sure you feel like you've got plenty of space between the ears and your shoulders. Let your hips feel heavy, like they're being pulled down into the mat. Take a really nice deep breath in. Gently just wriggling the fingers and the toes, maybe just shifting the head side to side. Just in your own time, bringing yourself back to a seated position. A little shift, a little reset. rush to move. Not got much planned today, so take your time. We've been down on the mat for a while, so just be aware as you get up that we've been down there for a while. How do we feel? Feel okay? Yeah? It's quite a nice balance of horrendous and then stretching and then, yeah,
Bring me
Pilates.
some words.
Yeah. But then I lie down at the end and you go, oh, it's alright actually. It's
All forgiven now.
Yeah, people are making in really odd places where they're like, what? They'll be like, what is it that caused this? It'll be this, it'll be this. But thank you very much everyone, have a lovely Sunday. I can go and frolic in my socks now.